So today, we're going to try and demystify what it actually takes to become a registered architect in Sri Lanka. We're going to look at the official rule book, for sure, but maybe more importantly, we're going to dive into the intense, very human side of what students go through on this incredibly long and difficult journey. Let's get right into it.
I mean, this quote just nails it, doesn't it? It's the perfect snapshot of an architecture student. We're talking about a life of unbelievable pressure, sleepless nights, and just relentless work. This isn't your average university course. It's a full-on test of physical and mental endurance that basically consumes your life for, like, the better part of a decade.
And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Why is this path so incredibly demanding? What is it about architecture that requires this almost superhuman level of sacrifice and struggle? Well, that's exactly what we're here to unpack.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll dig into the student's grueling journey. Then, we'll map out the official path laid down by the authorities. We'll check out the 3 professional goals you can actually aim for, the 2 main roads to get there, and finally, we'll circle back and ask, why does all this struggle even matter?
Okay, let's start with that real lived experience. We are talking about a journey that pushes students to their absolute breaking limits. It's not just about learning a topic, it's about being completely and utterly consumed by it.
And this gets to the very heart of why it's all so complex. See, architecture isn't just one thing. It's this wild fusion of dozens of different fields, all tangled up together. You have to be a scientist, an artist, a historian, and a sociologist, pretty much all at the same time.
And the core of this whole education, the real engine of it, revolves around these super high-stakes design projects. Students are developing their designs week by week, facing this constant barrage of critiques from tutors and visiting architects. I mean, just imagine pouring your soul into your work, only to have it picked apart in front of a whole room of people. That's the weekly reality.
So, we've seen the personal struggle, right? The human cost. Now let's flip over to the official side of things. Who is actually setting these incredibly demanding standards? It's time to map out the formal process, the rules of the road.
The entire system, everything from education to actually practicing architecture in Sri Lanka, is regulated by one single body, the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects, or as everyone calls it, the SLIA. They write the rulebook, they conduct the exams, and they are the ones who ultimately decide who gets to call themselves an architect.
Now, under the SLIA's big umbrella, it's not just one single architect title. There are actually 3 different professional levels you can achieve, and each one has its own specific path and its own set of requirements.
Okay, so take a look at this table. The main goal for most people is passing that huge SLIA Part 3 exam. That makes you an architect. But to get to the very top, to become a chartered architect, you have to go a step further, become a corporate member, and even take the architect's oath. And then you've got this totally separate track to become an architectural licentiate through a whole different exam. All right, so let's focus on that main goal, passing the Part 3 exam to become either an architect or a chartered architect. There are basically 2 different roads you can take to get there.
You can go down the direct examination process, which means sitting for every single exam run by the SLIA itself. Or you can take the exemption process. That's where you get a pass on certain exams because you've already got a recognized degree from another university.
The examination path is really straightforward. It's a 3-step ladder. You have to pass Part 1, then you move on to Part 2, and finally, you tackle the big one, Part 3. You can't skip a single step.
Now, the exemption path. This is for students who've studied architecture at other places, whether that's here in Sri Lanka or somewhere abroad. The SLIA has a whole system to evaluate those degrees to see if they measure up to their standards for Parts 1 and 2.
And this is a brilliant little breakdown of how it works for local schools. If your program is accredited, you're golden. You automatically get that exemption. If it's listed, you still have to apply for it. It's not guaranteed. And if your school is a candidate program, your degree just makes you eligible to sit for the SLIA's own exam.
And what about for those with foreign degrees? Well, that process is even more intense. The SLIA looks at programs from recognized bodies like the Canberra Accord signatories, but it's never automatic. Every single applicant has to go through these detailed evaluations and even a tough oral exam, a viva voce, to prove their knowledge really matches the SLIA curriculum.
And no matter which path you take, examination or exemption, this number is the big one. It's non-negotiable. After all your academic studies for Parts 1 and 2 are done, you have to complete 104 weeks. That is 2 full years of monitored, practical, on-the-job training before you're even allowed to sit
for that final Part 3 exam.
But here's the tension, right? We've just laid out this incredibly structured, long and demanding official process. But on the ground, what students feel is this immense pressure where the sheer volume of work, the quantity of drawings and models they produce, often feels like it's valued way more than the actual critical thinking behind them.
And this brings us right back to our big question. Why? What is the ultimate point of this intense pressure cooker environment? Because, it's not just about passing a bunch of exams.
So the whole point is this. The entire system, with all its hurdles, all its pressure, is designed to do one primary thing: to teach you to think like an architect. It's all about forging a very specific mindset that can handle incredible complexity and a ton of responsibility.
And why is that mindset so critical? Because an architect's decisions have massive real-world consequences. They don't just design buildings. Their work affects the environment, it shapes our cities and our society, it influences culture. Their work impacts the entire country.
So, when you understand that weight of responsibility, the grueling training starts to make a little more sense. The whole thing is basically designed to forge leaders who can perform under extreme pressure and think critically when the stakes are incredibly high.
But we have to ask the critical question here. Does this system always work? That pressure for quantity over quality can lead some students to just outsource their work, or to create flashy designs that look good but are actually pretty weak conceptually. Do we risk stifling the very creativity that this whole journey is supposed to nurture?
And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. In a country like Sri Lanka, which so desperately needs sustainable, thoughtful, innovative design, does this incredibly intense journey ultimately forge the kind of critical thinkers that our environment, our cities, and our future really need? The path is laid out, but the answer to that question, well, that's a lot more complex.